Hello and welcome back to the second video in our Build Your Brilliant Brand series. In the first video, we introduced you to why it's important to consider your brand for your organisation so that you build the reputation that's right for you and which builds loyalty and allows your business development to be less about price comparison. If you remember, it's about trying to make a connection with your ideal customer. We also talked about your brand personality and the three little words that capture the essence of your brand. Please have them to mind now as we go through this video, as we will be reflecting on them. So in our introduction, we spoke about being clear on your target customer so that you can communicate a brand that will connect with them. That way, they are more likely to buy into what you do and ultimately stay with you. Communication is done through three ways: your brand look or brand identity, your brand tone, and the emotion you evoke. In this video, we're going to focus on how your brand looks. As we go through this, I will ask you some questions, so it would be worth having a paper and pen nearby to pause and make notes so that you can start to think about how these principles apply to your organisation right away. Take a moment to think about what you think we mean by brand look. Pause the video and make a list of what this might include. So thinking back to the introduction video, your brand look will of course include your logo. But hopefully you've also realised that it's a lot more than that. It's also how you come across everywhere: flyers, ads, websites, social media, stationery, your premises if you have them, and of course it should all be consistent. We're going to look at this in more depth now because as well as needing to look good, it will play a part in communicate the very essence of your brand, so you need to consider how each element comes across to your target customer. So when we talk about your brand look, we essentially mean how we make your brand identifiable visually. There's plenty to think about: your logo, as we mentioned, your fonts or text style, the colours you use, not just in your logo, but across all the materials you communicate on, your design style, and even your choice of photos or illustrations. They will all contribute to building a picture your customer will have in their mind. And that picture needs to appeal to your customer. It's not about what you like. That means making sure your brand personality, those three little words, are reflected through all your visual codes too. For the purpose of explaining them, we'll break them down one by one, but in reality they will blend together to create an overall impact. Remember, this is just about giving some guidance. As we go through, I'm sure you will think of brands that break the rules, but that's always okay if it's done as a conscious decision. What I want you to take away from this video is the importance of being conscious of the decisions you make when choosing the visual elements of your brand. First up, let's look at your logo. Your logo is constant, so let's get it right first time. I've witnessed conversations where marketing agencies ask organisations what logos they like and what colours they like. But that's actually pretty irrelevant. Much more important is what will your target customer like, and how do you want to portray your organisation to them? So those three personality objectives we talked about in the first video become really important in your agency briefing. When it comes to your logo, there's lots to think about. Many of the elements we are going to talk about in this video will come into play as they will impact your logo, so it's important to have thought about them all before you commit to getting a logo done. Even if you can't invest much money, please invest your time. Your logo may adapt over time, but evolution is usually better than revolution. Otherwise, you may lose your following and the reputation you have built. Have a look at the logos in this slide. A lot will be very familiar to you, and there are some smaller organisations I've worked with too. So looking at these logos, which represent heritage? Which are prestigious? Which are modern? You'll notice that there are several luxury brands here, but they all tell a different story. Moet is steeped in tradition and heritage, building trust that it has been around for a long time. Chanel, also luxury, but much more clean and simple, more classic. Tesla, still in the premium sector, but much more cool and futuristic in its style. Then you have brands like Coca-Cola and Nike, which look more dynamic and energetic. WizFit also has energy. It's a small fitness business encouraging all the family to get fit by having fun. Their services start for people as young as 6. But most kids clubs come across as too young. 6-year-olds want to feel grown up. So a slightly older young teen logo was developed that would be more universally appealing to the families they were targeting. And finally, Many Moons is a luxury travel service startup business. Their logo is very clean and simple, classic and modern, appealing to a younger audience that want to experience a new version of luxury travel, experiential trips rather than five-star cruises. They also have the cute overlapping O's. It's a nice symbol that they can use elsewhere. And that's something you can consider too. Are there any elements you can use, design features, bullet points, maybe even a pattern or watermark that works as a background on some of your materials? So what style of font are you going to use? Different styles of font say different things about your brand, and we've already started to see the impact they have on your logo, but it applies to anything written, from your social media captions to your business cards and other stationery, to your website or printed leaflets. Different fonts can be seen to be more masculine or feminine, traditional versus dynamic, funky, modern, and so on. So it's important to consider this. Sometimes you may want to use a combination to break up your text, different headings to your main font, or you can add colour. Every decision you make will impact the reputation you are starting to build. If you look at my own business logo for ICING Marketing, I deliberately chose a serif font for stability and professionalism, but I added a splash of colour to keep it modern and a little bit more dynamic. I don't, however, use serif font in my marketing materials as they tend to look too old-fashioned. The logo is enough to add that professionalism. You also need to consider what works online. Serif fonts can be difficult to read and come across as old-fashioned. Standard Calibri or Arial may lack imagination. So pause the video now and take a moment to think about your own choice of font and how you use it. Is there anything you could adapt to get your brand personality across better? Make a note of anything you need to review. Your choice of colours will also have a part to play in building your brand reputation. For example, pink might not be very good for a professional image, as it may be seen to be too girly. But remember, whatever you choose, it can still be mixed up for effect. So what do these colours on this slide mean to you? They will of course vary from person to person, but there are some generally accepted guidance on this, and you can find the latest ideas quite easily on the internet. But for example, red, what does that mean to you? Perhaps exciting, youthful, bold and daring. It can also be a warning. Think of brands like Virgin, which is quite a maverick brand, or Coca-Cola, which is quite youthful. Then you have orange. Orange is very friendly, cheerful and confident. And then there's yellow. Yellow is an optimistic colour with clarity and warmth. It might feel too much to have a yellow brand, but adding a hint of yellow could warm up a brand and make it more approachable. So purple. Purple is seen to be creative, imaginative and wise. And green is often associated with being peaceful and being about growth and health. Grey is about balance. It's calm and neutral. I actually use it a lot to counter my own energy, as I can be a bit too lively for some people. And finally, blue represents trust, dependability and strength. You'll probably have noticed that it's very common in the financial and legal world. But remember, you can break the rules if you do it with intelligence. Think about orange for Veuve Clicquot champagne. We all recognise their ice buckets in bars and restaurants, and it really helps them to stand out. It wouldn't normally be seen as a luxury colour, but they use it confidently with bold designs, and by mixing it with their heritage logo and font, it manages to stay luxurious. And a word of caution, beware of being too obvious. Green is good for peace and health. If you're operating in that sector, it could make it difficult to stand out. So you do still need to find a way to stand out from your competitors. Again, this is not about the colours you like, but about what will get the right message across to your audience. So pause the video again and take a moment to think about the colours you use for your brand and how they reflect your 3 brand words. Is there anything you need to review or dial up? Now let's take a moment to think about style. Obviously, the graphical style you use will impact on your brand image, and working with a designer, you should make sure everything you create reflects your brand personality, those 3 words. But often, the thing I find organisations consider less is their style of illustration or photography. Big brands obviously spend a lot of money getting this right. And if you can afford a photographer, having your own bespoke style of photography is ideal. Notice how these furniture brands use photography differently, even though they are in the same industry. Made uses a similar colour palette to Ligne Rosé, but the French brand clearly distinguishes itself as forward-thinking with a bit of edge. Loaf, on the other hand, takes a very light-hearted approach, often bringing in hand-drawn elements. Even if you're using stock photography, try to avoid going for the obvious and think about how you want to come across. Look for images that are they traditional, classic, modern, or edgy? Do they need to be male, female, or neutral? Do you want something fun or expected and secure? Is this about coming across as premium or attainable? Do you need to be bright, uplifting, positive, or just calm? So think about your three little words and how they would be applied to a style in terms of imagery. So stop now and take a moment to think about the imagery you use at the moment. Is it too obvious? And does it truly reflect your three brand words? So I hope this gives you plenty of food for thought when it comes to your visual identity. Whether you're about to set up your brand identity from scratch, or if you are already established, what does your visual brand need to say about you? If you feel you're not modern or dynamic enough, maybe you can inject some colour somewhere. It doesn't always need to be a complete overhaul. And remember, all the other elements of your brand, which we'll cover in the next videos, will also have a part to play. A good way to capture your learnings from these videos is to take a moment and think of 2 to 3 things based on what you've learnt that you need to either stop doing, start doing, or anything you want to do more of. And if you feel you still need some extra guidance to work through this, I'd of course be more than happy to help. Please feel free to contact me for my flexible mentoring packages. Whether you want to work on defining your brand or auditing your brand to check you're on track, or just generally receive some ongoing support while you implement your brand. You can visit my website for further information, or if you'd like some more inspiration and tips, you can follow my social media. Next up, see our step 3 video, which is all about how to build a brand tone that's right for your organisation. Thank you for listening, and if you liked what you heard, please subscribe to my channel and press the like button. Thank you and good luck.